And now we're live. Okay, Michael and Sam, welcome to Utah Valley University. We just finished. We got a good crowd here. Give them a round of applause.
Oh wow!
So
a lot of you guys are people.
I can't tell you how much I love this film. So it's so much fun, and the audience throughout the whole time was just reacting great. You'd be really pleased, and hopefully they'll have a lot of questions for you. I've got some. So first, you know, one of the fun things for me about this movie is that I met you guys before I saw it, right? I didn't see it and then meet you guys. I think we met at a party or something like that there at Fantasia, and you guys are just like this nicest couple. You just are just this like adorable all-American people. And then I see this like really weird movie, and it makes me just really wonder about you guys. So I've got a couple of questions. First, you're also young filmmakers, and I'm wondering, sort of I'd like to get sort of a you know, like the story of your life as far as film school, meeting, working on this, coming up, and then making it.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like chronologically, you know, as far as you know, I feel like you probably made this shortly after you got out of school or something like that, and then and then just kind of the idea, how it all came together.
Sure. So I guess there's a lot there, so I guess we'll try to do a condensed version. But yeah, we both actually met at film school at SUNY Purchase, which is just outside New York City. And kind of after college, we were just doing our own, like, you know, we started dating sometime after college, but we were both kind of just doing our own things. Like, you were a producer at College Humor and like producing a lot of short work.
Yeah.
And I was doing like VFX on like commercials, and like we were both like writing a lot of our own screenplays, like feature screenplays. And then when we finally started working together, we were doing like music videos for our friends and things like that. And
for like no money at all, just, you know, shooting whatever we could.
And we both just kind of became really determined to make a feature. And kind of our old college, we were very friendly with everyone there, and they basically offered us equipment if we were to make a movie like this the coming summer, which was like 6 months away. So we kind of went through all of our scripts.
Yeah, like they had an idea. The film school came to us and had an idea that they wanted to get like a bunch of people
like
who had graduated, a bunch of alumni together, and if they could all agree on one movie idea, and each person would be committed to like putting some of their own money, then hey, we'd have enough money to make a feature. And so we like met with everybody, but nobody could agree on a movie idea. They just all wanted to do their idea.
Sure.
So it didn't seem like it was going to work. And then that got us talking and saying like, well, if we came up with an idea, you know, could we still just borrow the equipment? Obviously, we would have to figure out the funding, and they agreed. So I think it was exactly 5 years ago, actually. It was like January.
When
we started writing it.
Yeah.
And we came up with the idea, and we wrote it very quickly.
Yeah, so what happened was we had a lot of like, we had other feature scripts that we'd written, but we knew that we were going to have a very small budget. Like, we knew pretty much what the budget was going to be. So we knew we had to tailor a script to that budget range, which was really important. Otherwise, we were ourselves thin. And I guess I've been fascinated with like conspiracy theorists. Like, I loved watching them online. So I kind of pitched that idea to Sam, and you know, as we started talking about it, we're like, well, how would we show all these like crazy storylines of like working for the U.S. government and, you know, aliens, because we clearly couldn't make that look realistic.
Right.
Kind of came up with this idea of like, well, what if our characters make a movie themselves within the movie? We can like use that as a way to kind of get the backstory across without spending a lot of money.
Yeah, and it would also be humorous, like in a way. We both liked humor a lot.
Yeah,
still do. So we wrote that. So I guess just to give you like frame of reference, it was like about, so this was in 2014 when we wrote it. and we had graduated in 2009.
Yeah, so like, we were like,
So it's like, you know, some years out of school. Anyway, we wrote it really quickly, and we were pretty like, we're like, okay, this is, well, I guess basically like we decided that if we were gonna write it and we had to shoot it over the summer in order to borrow the equipment from school while they were in session, we're like, we had to write it quickly, so we wrote it very quickly, did all the pre-pro in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, we wrote it from like writing it to actually the first day of shooting. I think it was like 6 months,
or like 6 or 7 months, which is insane, and I don't recommend doing it in that short amount of time. But yeah, and we shot it. We spent another year or so like editing it together.
And you guys wrote, directed, produced, and edited it. Edited it.
Yeah, edited. Completely together, like side by side. We would sit in the edit room side by side, and just kind of like one of us would be in the chair and the other one would be sort of like making notes, and then we would switch. And yeah, it was very much a team effort.
That's amazing. Well, that's also a question just about editing, but as well as writing. I mean, every writing partnership kind of handles things differently. How do you guys work together as writers? And further beyond that, on set, directing. I mean, do you guys, either of you have a strong suit and you let somebody do something else, or do you just completely do it all together, or what?
Oh, well, I would say for strong suits, just in terms of like after we both left film school, where our kind of careers went, is he's always worked in post and I always worked as a producer. So in that sense, he knows more post stuff than I do, like technical details and everything like that, and can kind of always help supervise that more so. And then with producing, I just happen to have more connections in terms of like crew and stuff that people I had worked with. But
yeah, like during the writing, it was pretty much just, you know, it would be more like a conversation. Like we would just like, oh, well, it should go like this. And we start talking about the dialogue, and we would always just switch off, kind of like we would do with editing, where someone would just be sitting down writing stuff and we'd like switch off. But we kind of always had a rule that this went with editing as well. If someone suggested an idea, you had to try it, which would make things go slower at times. But if you didn't want to try it, you'd have to have a reason why you think it's not going to work. Or the other person counter would have to have a very strong reason as to why they believe this. So instead of just writing something and like having yourself unchecked, you constantly have someone questioning you, which also kind of made it stronger as it was being written.
Yeah, you kind of get very quickly used to like rejection in a way. Not that your ideas are just immediately like, no, but it's like somebody might go like, I don't like that. And then you have to argue why you like, no, hear me out. And then you spend some time doing that and like, okay, well, let me see it. Like, how would it go? And then you start to like work it out. And then usually how it goes is either, oh, wait, this is actually a terrible idea, never mind. Or, okay, I'm starting to see like, and that's giving me an idea. And then then it develops into something that maybe the person who suggested it didn't even think it would go that way.
Yeah. So. Or at times like you're stuck, like you'll just be sitting at the keyboard, like I don't know what to do with this scene. The other person's like, I got it. Step aside.
Yeah, like I'll literally physically step aside. I will sit down, and so a lot of it is just we have 2 office chairs, and we just constantly like are switching who's sitting at the computer. In the nicer chair, and doing the writing.
But yeah, on set is, I think, the trickier spot to navigate, because I once co-directed with a friend, and even the smallest choices can like really slow you down if you're not on the same page. For example, we once had like an art director say like, for the bed sheet, do you want like a blue blanket or a white blanket? And at the same time, I say white and he says blue. It's the most mundane thing. Like, well, it's important, but we need to like move. This is a decision that should be made very quickly on set. So we were fortunate where
we didn't have that.
We didn't have that. Everything was, after each take, we'd kind of look at each other. You just know if the other person was happy, or if like you could kind of read each other pretty quickly. And we would just alternate who would talk with the actors and who would yell action, basically. But pretty much 50-50.
That's something you have to kind of alternate. or just learn to say action in unison.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Now, you have a great cast, and I think some people might ask more about it, but I'll let them ask about it. I want to ask about George Basil, who is a bigger name. I mean, he's in things. I'm not going to, make it awkward by asking your exact budget, but I feel like it was just a bit above the budget of the movie that was being made in the movie, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
And so tell me about getting him and casting and how, some of those choices.
Yeah, and we're happy to talk about budget because it's like we said, this is like film school and everything. Like we really made the movie when we were going into it. I think we thought it was just going to be an exercise, really. Like we are going to have almost no money, but we just need to be doing something, and we'll just see where it goes. And so we were very pleasantly surprised when it actually went to festivals and stuff. But I think originally when we were making it, we were like, oh, this is just gonna, maybe go on YouTube and disappear or whatever. So our budget was
like 35,000, like shooting budget.
35,000 for shooting, which was partially our own money and partially Kickstarter. And partially, I think, a loan that we took out, a small loan, paid it off. And then, with post and festival fees and that kind of thing, probably another 10,000 afterwards. So really not a lot of money.
A lot of money to me, but like in the film world,
industry, nothing. Yeah. So in terms of the cast and particularly George, we auditioned a bunch of people and we got some self-tapes. And we had our vision for that character was very different originally. We were picturing somebody kind of like loud,
kind of like a gregarious, like kind of an older and kind of someone who's more aggressive and vocal. And so Sam had worked with George previously on a short film. And so George was kind of like, at this point, kind of just doing commercials. And we were considering him, but we didn't really think he would work out because he was too young for us. And, we auditioned all these people, and George sent a self-tape from LA because he wasn't in New York. So he just sent like a cell phone video of himself, and it was so quiet. You could like barely hear what he was saying. And so like the exact opposite of everything we imagined for the movie.
Yeah, basically like we had already seen a bunch of people do it exactly how we imagined it. And something just felt like not quite right, strangely. And then we saw George do it totally the opposite. And immediately it clicked for us. It just felt so much better. And yeah, I knew him just from like little rink-a-dink comedy sketches and this short film. And he was always like so funny, like on set and off set. And so I was really surprised to see him do it so subdued, so serious, like really out of his element. And maybe that's why he kind of was interested in doing it. I don't know. He also was just like, we're friendly.
Yeah. And also at the time, like, again, like, I think it was after we shot Man Underground, he started doing more of like, the crashing, the flaked. I mean, when we were shooting our Man Underground, he actually got like his first real big break where he got an offer to audition for SNL. So he can I talk about that? But anyways, he
auditioned for SNL during that time. Didn't make the cast.
Yeah, didn't make the cast. Yeah. But anyway, so that's how we kind of got affiliated with George and how he became part of the movie. So we got very lucky with him, and he was really great.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
And were the other actors audition actors too, or? It's a great cast. They're all great, all four of them. So.
Oh, the other actors in the movie?
Yeah, were they audition actors too, or?
So yeah. So Pamela Fila, who plays Flossie, she starred in my senior thesis film at film school. And I just loved working with her, and I thought she was so talented. And so I always had her in mind when we were writing the role, but we did audition other people, and I still just thought she was the best. Andy Rocco, who plays Todd, is also a comedian from the UCB, or Upright Citizens Brigade kind of community, who I sort of knew, but I had never met, but I just kind of knew who he was. And I asked if he wanted to audition, and he was so great.
Yeah. And then the person who plays like the boyfriend character, you know, he's like one of our, you know, we always make the joke like the asshole boyfriend is our asshole friend. we kind of wrote the role for him because like he had just started doing like acting classes, and we'd seen him in some other films, and we just knew he'd be great for it, so we kind of like wrote that role for him.
Yeah, he was
very complimentary. I'm sure he appreciated it. Yeah. Okay, well, I am going to turn it over to you guys, so come on up. Now is when they're shy. Actually, no, we got a good lineup. So come on up, guys. So they're gonna tell you their name, and we'll see how this goes.
Sure.
Cool.
Well, just wait. No, just wait in line.
Yeah. Oh, all right. All right, great. Hey, my name is Bryce, and this I didn't know what to expect coming into this movie, but I'm glad I came. I'm glad I saw it. It was wild. And I mean, Dwayne kind of stole a lot of my questions that I was going to ask, but when we're talking about George playing Willem, and how you kind of got to know him, and how he was brought onto the project to begin with, and how he kind of defied your expectations with the performance that he wanted to give, with somebody like that, where you find something you didn't really see beforehand, what does that do to your directing when it comes to actors like that? Does it make it better? Does it make it easier? Or does it make it more difficult? Do you give them more free range and kind of don't have to like work with them as much? What was the experience working with George in that regard?
You know, it's interesting. So we're actually both now like film professors, and I always tell my students as they're going through the acting process or the casting process, you know, the most important thing is just to keep an open mind.
Yeah.
And to like let go of your expectations and to see what someone else brings. And I think we both think like if you properly cast your movie, all of your hard work directing on set is kind of taken care of.
Yeah. Yes. So much of directing is in the casting and casting the right person. Like you're still there to nudge them along. Mm-hmm. But like it's in the script, and it's in.
Yeah. I mean, 9 times out of 10, George would do exactly what we wanted. And we try to actually give him a lot of free reign, because George and the guy who played Todd, Andy, are both strong like improv comedians. Mm-hmm. So what we'd always do is at the end of each take, like when the scene would end, like and there's like, you know, the whole script, like that scene was read, we'd let them just like keep going. We keep the cameras rolling. And a lot of like the great funny or like a lot of the moments in the film I really love are just them improvising as their characters. So.
Yeah, literally every single scene has footage that like we had like I wish we could just like put it all together and show someone like they always would improvise till the end of it, or after, and it was just like always super funny. So yeah, so some of it wound up making it in. So yeah, a lot of it is just casting the right person. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like I did that much work on set, to be honest.
Well, that's not true. Definitely not true. Yeah. But yeah, and in terms of like keeping an open mind, like we said, how George was very like kind of the opposite of what we imagined. Originally, like even physically, what we imagined Willem to look like was more like Todd's character, and we imagined Todd's character looking like George, like having long hair and being like this like metal guy. And when we wound up casting George completely differently, we were then like, okay, we can't have 2 skinny guys with long hair. We now have to rethink Todd. So that's when I thought of Andy Rocco. I was like, oh, what if he's like, instead of being this cool metalhead, he's more of like a nerdy, you know, like, I don't know, a sweet guy. And that completely changed the dynamic between him and Flossie. Because originally we were sort of thinking like maybe there is sort of like a flirtation between the two of them. But when we cast Andy, it was like so clearly like, oh, like they have such a sweet relationship. It just felt, everything just felt like better.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's all about the casting.
So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, I mean in spades. It's just weird. Sometimes you get that character in your head if you write and direct a script, and then you're like, when you don't want to put your actors in a box with just like you have to be this way and make it so rigid. So knowing that they both kind of had that improv in there and that free range. I mean, they're both hilarious, and I don't know George's work. I really want to know more now, but he
Crashing on HBO. You won't be disappointed.
he was just so subtle. He was so, I don't want to say deadpan, but it just worked so well, and he played off the other characters so well, and it was just great. So thank you very much.
Yeah. No, he was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Take care.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Mariah. I just wanted to ask really quick, is there a cat behind you?
Yeah. We got marbles.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
Like creepy little tail come behind you. Like, but my question is, how is it hard to be able to I guess when you're editing to like translate the humor onto the screen? Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
I think the hardest thing with editing in general is that you watch the same things over and over again, and you kind of get desensitized to it. And so, like, maybe you'll try to like make things go quicker, or then you try to, like, or you elongate things, and even having another person like helps. But what I think you always really need is to kind of bring in some fresh eyes. Not even always so much about what they see, but you watch your own film differently when all of a sudden there's an audience. Like, because you're like you can like feel their reactions in the room.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big part of, I think, editing the humor, at least like gauging off, like bringing outside perspectives in. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, this movie I wouldn't call a comedy, but it's like a drama with like a lot of comedic moment, like a dramedy maybe.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of that is because of particularly casting George and Andy in those two lead roles, because they're comedians. So they just sort of like, again, through improvisation, brought in a lot of comedy to the scenes. But like I've been working on a comedy pilot that's like specifically supposed to be funny, and working on that, it's like a joke is funny the first time, and then after that, it's like no longer funny until I'm watching it, with other people in the room. And when I gauge what they laugh at, then I sort of like get like a renewed like, oh yeah, that is fun, or like, oh, that is kind of like falling flat every time or whatever. So yeah, I think the best thing you can do is just like keep testing things out around other people. And just in thinking about Man Underground, actually, like I feel like a lot of the most comedic moments probably are at the very end of the scene when they're improvising, but specifically like just using one person's angle and hearing the other person kind of off camera.
Well, I think most of like acting, and I think this applies to editing too, is it's all about reacting. So a lot of editing is like trying to see the people. You're not so much trying to see someone say their line. You're trying to see how that line hits the person they're saying it to. So that's like, well, I think I always focus on editing, and George is so good at reacting, and Andy's so good. So that way you always had something like a very small facial expression to work with. Yeah. So I think, I don't know if that, that's kind of rambling.
That's not what, you kind of jumped on what I was saying. But anyway, so what I was saying was just like a lot of the improv would take place at the end of the scene, and you'll just notice that a lot of scenes just end on one person where we're not cutting to the other person that they're talking to, because it's being improvised and it's like unrepeatable. I don't know if that makes sense without being able to show it, but it's just like
almost does.
Sometimes hearing, just like holding on that person and hearing the off-camera responses and not cutting to the other person, just holding on that one person actually yields comedic results. Try it sometime. I don't know.
definitely will. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Hi, my name is Grace. First of all, I really liked the movie. It was great. I'm kind of wondering, like, I feel whenever I go shooting or try to put together like a project, there's always something that like goes wrong, or there's always something that like is just unfixable or something like that. Did you guys have any like really unfixable moments for any scenes or like any challenges?
There
So,
was,
yeah.
Whole
thing's a challenge.
Yeah.
Making a movie is a challenge.
Yeah, every time you have a shoot, there's always going to be something that goes wrong. I think with this film in particular, I think I felt that we had stuff that where we had to make compromises, certainly. But I'm not as bad as I usually have had to make in films that are like such low budget. Like, I think the diner scene was one of the scenes we struggled with the most. Because we only had the diner for like 4 hours and we had to shoot 2 scenes. So we were just rushing through, and I remember being like very disappointed, like looking at the footage later.
Yeah. There was even 3 scenes.
Yeah, we had so much to
one
shoot. Yeah.
Like 2 during the day and 1 at night, or one at night, 2 during the day, something like that. So it was just like so much to cram into such a short amount of time. And you know, we pictured it one way, and it's just like you get there, and it's like you just try to get what you can. So the coverage turned out to be very kind of basic, more basic than we wanted it to be, and yeah, there was just like no breathing room, and the actors kind of felt rushed. So stuff like that sort of always happens. It's kind of inevitable. One thing that like just was unforeseen was the day. So we shot this whole movie in 17 days straight with no breaks, which I definitely don't ever recommend. But we're all staying in a house together, and we had that house, you know, for a certain amount of time. That's all we could afford. So the day that we left New York City to go to the shoot, I woke up sick, and I could like just like feel it, and I was like, oh no, I cannot be getting sick. And living in that house with everybody, it just spread to everybody, including our lead actor. And so like that was like one of those unforeseen things where it was just like everybody was really nice about it, but like it was horrible.
Yeah. But I think like one thing, I guess, kind of like from like, you know, perspective, like with this, you know, as a student filmmaker, it's just like kind of eventually learning how to like make sure you've like gotten what you've needed. Because I feel like there'd be times on set when I was kind of, you know, like, you know, in film school where I would just say, oh, I have it, and I'll just move on because I'm like trying to get through the day. And you have to be like 100% certain that you have everything you need to move forward, because it's gonna come back and bite you at some point. So like, you really have to confront it then and there. But you're so tired and you're so exhausted that you don't want to, but you always have to make sure you get what you need.
Yeah, and you're reading that everybody else is tired and just wants to end, but like you kind of have to trust your gut. If it's not right, you gotta say like, I'm sorry, we got to keep going.
Yeah.
So it's a delicate balance of like pleasing people so they don't like revolt and leave, and then getting what you need.
Well, thank you so much, and it's cool that you guys are now cinema professors.
Yeah.
I kind of have a second question. Are you guys working on anything else, like another feature?
Yeah. So after Man Underground, she did a pilot that she directed with 2 other women that I produced. And then we have a new feature that we wrote like a year or 2 ago that we've had like signed now with like, you know, like some executive producers that are trying to get like it funded. We have like a few other scripts that we're working on, but our latest one that we're kind of hoping gets made.
We wrote a horror script. So,
Yeah.
so we're just we're trying to find funding for that right now.
Cool. Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
So first I just wanted to, compliment
What's that?
What's your name?
Oh, sorry. My name is Saul. I got really excited about my question and meeting you both. But yeah, I wanted to compliment you both on this movie and the way it was edited. So Dwayne is actually my professor, my editing professor. And today, funny enough, we went over how you know, good editors can make the audience connect, you know, with these characters, and they'll use these techniques to do that. And with that in mind, I was watching, you know, while I was watching this movie, I was just like, dude, these he did really well. I even like looked it up because I didn't catch in the beginning of the movie who edited it. And so when I looked it up, I was like, oh, they did. Cool. So yeah, I wanted to compliment you on that. I thought like the way that you at least with how I connected with oh my gosh.
Okay.
Willem? Yeah. It was just so good. But so my question is, sorry, I am so sorry. Do you ever like, so like does okay, so I guess when I make something or if I show my friends, I'm always like insecure about it, even after the fact, even if they like it, my insecurity is always there. So does that ever go away from like where you're at, or does that make sense? Like, so that's my question.
Insecurity about your own work, just in general.
Yeah, just like exactly, just with my own stories. Like I'll show them it, and I'm just like sucked it in it, and they're just like, no, it was good. So, but yeah, anyways, so does that ever go away for you, or?
There's some days where we're both just sitting here like we are geniuses. We have got it all figured out. Some days you're like, oh my god, I'm a fraud. I'm a huckster. I don't know what. So I don't think that ever totally goes away. But I do think with experience, you absolutely gain more confidence in yourself. And
yes, and. You know, I think it depends on the person. I think if you're the type of person who feels like, you know, insecure about their work or doubts themselves a lot, like you're completely not alone. Like I've met the type of filmmakers who are really overly confident about their work. I've never been that person. I've never grown out of being insecure. I'm continually like, you know, there are sometimes like where I get more confident on certain things where I'm just like, no, I really believe in this. But I still question it every step of the way. And I think that's true, really, of like most artists. It's just like, it's just part of the process. And I think it's smart to always be questioning and just know that, like, you know, let me put it this way. Like, we've watched this movie at a lot of different festivals and with a lot of different groups of people. And a joke that one audience will laugh at, the next audience will not laugh at that joke, but they'll laugh at something that the previous audience didn't. So we'll like the first time we ever screened it, we're like, oh, well, that joke must not work. And then the next time we saw a bunch of people like loving it. So we're like, wait, so maybe that joke does work. So it's just like, we realized, I don't know, there like a lot of times you just sort of have to like accept the fact that some people are going to like it, some people are not. And the important thing is, do you like it? Like you kind of just have to decide for yourself, do I really believe in this? Or is this not my best work and next time I'll do better?
And I think it's important, like, you know, at your age or being like film schools, like you're looking around and so many people are doing different things and you might feel this inclination, like, you know, oh, well, they're doing this and this is better than what I'm doing. And it's like, I think I really respect people who just like, they know what they like and they do it and they kind of like put on those blinders to a certain degree. And I think that's like a big thing as like developing as an artist, is just like understanding like what stories you're trying to tell, what your tastes are, and kind of, you know, not getting, you know, looking at everyone else constantly. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, it does. Thank you. I have one last question. I promise it's pretty quick. It's like I finally remember what it was. But so you know, you guys planned for this movie. You know, you were budgeting and all this stuff. Finally, you're at day one, you know, of shooting. Were you able to have time to just like take it in, like just like a proud moment, just like, man, like this is happening? you know, or was everything just too crazy, or was no time for that?
I would say it was pretty much too crazy for the most part. It's just like, because also on our level, when you're not only like directing it and writing it and everything, but you're also producing it, which we were doing, you don't really have a chance, because the second you're not making a directorial choice, somebody's like, oh, that location is falling through or whatever, so can you get on the phone with them and talk? You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
we're like, oh shit, our sound guy is on the train and somebody needs to pick him up. Sorry. So
We're all
college kids.
But yeah, I mean, we were busy from like, you know, as soon as we woke up until we went to sleep. But there was the one moment I think for me, I probably enjoyed the most, where I kind of feel like I could like relish in all of this, was, you know, Willem's car in the movie. That was my friend's dad gave us that car to borrow, and it was like so awesome to drive. So just me and George would be driving in that car through like the Catskill Mountains. And at that moment, I was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, there are like little moments where you're like having your coffee and you're just kind of like about to go over like the storyboards with your DP or something, and you just kind of look around and you're like, "Wow, all these people are here just because like we decided to do this thing." So there's definitely little moments, but
yeah, cool. Well, thank you both again. Later.
Guess it's my turn. I'm Briggs, student here at UVU, in case you guys couldn't tell. I had a question for you guys. The movie was amazing. I don't watch many, you know, I guess you could call them lower budget, more indie films like that, and I was very much surprised, and it blew me away. The biggest thing that blew me away, and something that I always pay attention to in movies, is the score of the movie. I want to know how much impact and how much decision making you guys had in the score, as far as the tension building, and for all the little moments during the movie.
So yeah, so I've been every single movie I've ever made since I was like 16 on was scored by the same person, my like best friend. So he's been doing it for me all like, you know, high school, college. So it was like obvious that he was going to do this movie as well. And whenever I work with him, usually what happens is he sends me something, and in my mind I'm like, this isn't working. I don't know why, like, you know, do something completely different. And he's very stubborn, and he won't do it, and he'll just keep sending me more and more of the same. And then eventually I realized, like, oh, he was right. So a lot of it, honestly, I want to take credit, but he's very good at what he does. And
yeah, most collaborations, that's not like a good way to work. But I have to say, like, I love everything that this guy does. And even though he was kind of stubborn during the shoot, it was like, he was right. It was great. And so like he did the score, and then we together, like any songs that are like on the radio or that kind of thing, like we would just like hunt through.
Yeah, a lot of them are our friends' bands. Or like anybody who we knew or had ever met who had a band who might give us a good deal on a song. We like tried it out. So yeah.
Cool. Well, that was my only question. So thanks, guys. Good movie.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Wes. First of all, you guys were great. I love the film. Really just awesome how you guys like portrayed like the story and the characters and all that. I just thought it was great. And normally me personally, I like to focus on like the editing side of things, but I like to look at production as a whole. So I loved all of your choices that you made with like locations and sets and like props and stuff. So what kind of led you in that direction of, obviously the main character is kind of like, you know, he's like seen as paranoid, but he really had this experience where, you know, there are like people watching him still, and so he has like, you know, an old cell phone with the antenna, and everyone else has like their smartphones out. So like, and just like how it was like a combination of like modern and like, I don't know, a little bit older. I don't even know what I'm saying, but like what led you to make those decisions? Because I mean, they worked out really well. Like what inspired you to shoot it in like the locations that you did? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Location wise, I'll just say like we're both from upstate New York. So I feel like
a lot of it was we kind of like wrote some of the stuff with things in mind. For example, like the lake house. I always knew we were gonna use that lake house because my friend's parents' lake house. The house that we shot the most of the movie in, that one we got very lucky with. It was like we were searching on Airbnb, and that happened to be like this this older artist would rent this like house out kind of for like, you know, skiers during the winter, and he just had all this incredible artwork all over the place. So that was really awesome to like add to like, you know, the thing.
Yeah, actually, like you'll like see on the walls, like I don't even know if like if there's like a copyright issue with that really, but like there's just like beautiful paintings everywhere just because he's like an art collector. But and you know, we just kind of chose it. We were just like searching for a house that was big enough to house all the cast and crew, but also big enough and had enough different types of rooms where like, okay, this is supposed to be Todd's house. Now this is supposed to be Flossie's childhood bedroom or whatever. So that was like that kind of like decision making.
Yeah.
And then
with the 90s kind of like aesthetic, like with the VHS and like the old thing, you know, old phone and radios, I think we always like liked that aesthetic a lot. But I think in that,
yeah, what
I'm trying to think.
I think it started from the idea that somebody super paranoid would not have a smartphone.
Yeah.
And then he probably wouldn't have a computer, I guess we thought. And then I don't know what, like, so then he would have like a typewriter, and then we were like, oh, like, yeah, he likes like camcorders. I don't really know how that like completely.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how we got. I remember when we were looking up a lot of like conspiracy theorists, like watching their videos online. Almost all of them were horrible quality, like VHS videos. So I think that kind of got burned into our mind, and a lot of the aesthetics followed suit with that. And we also, I mean, probably a lot of film school. You know, you guys are doing this in film school as well. Is like for props and costumes, we're going to like thrift shops. So by nature, the props that we can afford are going to be older. And we kind of like that anyway. So, and we also kind of like, so there's something about upstate too, like people's lake houses and different things. They always have like all these old items, so like it always feels like dated in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like a mixture of like things that you just sort of like. Like it's like I don't know any diners where the waitresses dress like that like 50s style, but that's what I like to see. So I'm just gonna like fucking do it, you know?
Well, I loved it. It all worked. And my other question is, with Sundance coming up in our neighborhood, what was kind of your process? You know, obviously it starts at the beginning, but throughout, you know, in terms of like distribution, like getting people, you know, get it out there, because I mean, it's an awesome film, so you want people to see it. Mm-hmm. So what was kind of your process in that?
So, you know, we were very new to the whole like festival circuit thing, and, you know, premiere status is supposed to be a very big deal, like what festival you premiere at. So we tried to go to the big ones.
Sure, we got rejected.
We got rejected from all the big ones pretty much. And we got accepted to CineQuest, and we really didn't have anything else being offered. So we're like, all right, we'll go to CineQuest. And after that, it was just rejection letter after rejection letter. We were like, okay, we're probably just going to go to that one festival. Nothing's happening. That's it.
We're like, hey, that's fine. You know, we tried making a movie.
Yeah. But then Fantasia came along, and we got accepted there, which is actually where we met Dwayne in Montreal. And Fantasia does a really good job of actually, like, you know, looking through all the submissions and, you know, trying to find people just through their pool of like actual like paid submissions that people do.
So like, I don't know if you guys know Without a Box.
Of who, sorry?
Without a Box.
Yeah.
It's like a website. Well, I guess it's shutting down, but like ever since we were in college, it was the website where almost every single film festival out there, you can apply through that and like search.
So we applied through that way. And so once we got into Fantasia, everything really changed. You know, from then we had like people approaching us, like a sales agent, like a couple of sales agents approached us. So we signed with one of them. And then, you know, we didn't realize this, but then at, you know, Fantasia, everyone else knew, but we didn't know at the time that we were winning like the best new feature award. So kind of while we were there, we were being courted strangely. Like it was a very bizarre situation where
we're like, everybody's just so nice here.
Everyone's so nice, and like everyone's like giving me
idea.
their business cards and telling me to send me their my film. And what I didn't really understand was when you get into one bigger festival, all the other festivals now want you.
Yeah.
So after that, we never had to apply again. Where festivals from all over the world would be emailing me asking to see the film, and we went on to like play like a dozen festivals after that. All over Europe and Mexico and U.S. So and then we got a distributor. Then
through that. So really, it all came down to Fantasia being a really good festival and having industry connections there. Because a lot of festivals you'll go to are nice.
Yeah.
But there's no one actually buying there. So it'll scream, it'll be great.
Yeah.
But Fantasia was a really good one for that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, awesome. You guys are great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Errol.
Hi.
I've got 2 more people with questions. Are you holding up all right? You guys doing good? We got 2.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So I wanted to know if something I caught was intentional or if it was just me being weird. I got a bit of an autism spectrum vibe from your main character.
Yeah.
Was that an intentional thing?
Yes.
Okay. So how did that decision come about, and how do you program something like that into a character?
I'll just say that was I don't think we planned for it, but it was something that George specifically said that when he was, I think we were already shooting one night, like after we had wrapped, he was sort of talking about how he like imagined the character, or maybe we probably had the conversation beforehand, but I just specifically remember talking about it a little bit, where he felt like the character was maybe like a little on the spectrum. And it was never something that we were like thinking about that much while we were directing it, but the idea was always that this was going to be a character who does not fit in to society and has a lot of trouble
with interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, and like reading the room or reading what like other people are like thinking. So I think I guess in a way it was like we kind of wrote a character that
it was a little on
the spectrum in that sense.
It was more like in the performance than in the initial writing.
I would say so.
Definitely, like we didn't write it going, this is a character that's on the spectrum, but we did think like this is a person who just can't quite connect with people, and created a lot of situations that were inherently kind of awkward, where people are kind of like, okay, I don't know what's happening right now, and then so hopefully that answers your question, kind of.
Yeah, no, it does, and those were some of the more moving moments for me. So thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, this is scary. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, my name is Garen. So my question is, so I'm looking to do storyboard art, and you guys mentioned storyboarding. What is the exact process working with a storyboard artist and kind of like doing that type of thing?
So I guess we should say we really didn't have like a storyboard artist exactly. It
was me.
It was Sam just kind of doodling. To be completely honest, it was one of the things that we put off till the last second, and we kind of ran out of our storyboards a few days into shooting. So every morning we would have to like scramble to figure out the shots for the day, which wasn't good, but
in truth, I've actually never worked with a professional storyboard artist. I grew up I grew up drawing and wanting to make comic books, so like I always just try and like even if it's like really rough, I try to do like a loose storyboard myself.
What are you studying at school? Is there like a specific?
So I'm doing the film program here. So basically just an overall film emphasis, whatever type of thing. But I don't know how to say things. People stop laughing at me. Okay. So, like I've just always enjoyed like the visualization. I'm a very visual person. I'm not very good with writing or anything like that. So I've just drawn for like a long time. And so I've just thought like storyboard art would be really great. And I also do concept art and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so I've just been trying to figure out kind of on the side and working with people just kind of like how the process could go and that type of stuff. Basically, I'm doing film, but somehow I'm going to do storyboard art.
Interesting. Well, if I was to also like production design, like, art directing, like, there's a lot of other elements that can go into like the actual aesthetics of a film. So I'd imagine like a DP and director would work pretty closely with like a storyboard artist. But I don't know like how much actual like creative control a storyboard artist has in that regard. I don't really know though.
Yeah, I don't know if they just sort of like, I don't know. We're not the right people to answer that, I guess. But you should do it. I mean, it's a visual medium, so it totally makes sense. Yep.
I'll just ask the next guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, one last one.
Hello, I'm Josh.
Hi, Josh.
I'm the last guy in line. It was just like 5 minutes ago. I just walked up. So yeah, being kind of like rushed within like the post and kind of like writing and planning and everything. Like you didn't have really like a storyboard or that kind of stuff. Were there any like improv to like on-set like creative decisions that you guys can kind of like give examples of in the movie that you like used or yeah.
I'm sure there would have been. Trying to think.
Were there like collaborations as well within like the crew with like camera people that are like, oh, I think this might work. Why don't you try this? And you did that, or?
Oh, yeah. With the shooting, definitely there was a lot of, basically we ran out of our storyboards. So every morning it would be us, having breakfast and talking with our DP and kind of walking through the scenes. And I feel like there was a lot of moments where the actors made a lot of like their choices about like certain things they were going to do. Like Andy Rocco, for example, decided he was always going to wear a hat that matched his shirt. He was always,
actually, I decided that. But I went through his outfits and his hats, and I was like, okay, he's always gonna like I like searched through his clothes with him, and I was like, what if like you kind of wanted to wear a hat? And I was like, great, let's like always match your shirts and your hats together, and that'll be like your style kind of thing. That wasn't really on set. That was like
I'm trying to think of some things that happened on set.
I mean, definitely, certainly through the shooting, kind of like drawing a blank on anything that stands out that sort of came organically.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there was like a time where you're just like, you do a shot and you're like, oh, maybe this might work, and then you're like, oh, let's try it this way or something like that. But it's just, just a curiosity kind of question, because that happens to me a lot when I'm shooting.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm blanking a little bit on that one too.
I'm sorry.
You're okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a part that was like, oh, that was a creative choice that you're like, I'm very proud of or something, instead of like that disappointing, like challenging question that you had earlier, or
probably more of those.
I'm sure as soon as like this ends, we'll be like, oh, we should
you should let let us know about that.
Yeah. Let me dial back in. Okay.
Oh, you did. All right. Yeah. Thanks for the mood. That was a good movie. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, guys. That was awesome. It's a great film. Can't wait to see something else from you guys. I'll tell you right now, my favorite bit of production design, other than all of Andy's shirts and hats, was the sign in the very first scene where it's the conference and it's handwritten down there, guest speaker. Guest speaker. Saw that this time and just cracked up. So thank you so much. This has been really great. As one of the things that I've always observed with these is as a professor of some of these people, I can tell them things over and over again. But when I show a movie and then have the director come and say some of the exact things, they're like, wow. Very
yeah.
I appreciate it, and you guys are great, and you made a great movie. So best of luck. Your ring, by the way, is beautiful. And have a happy wedding whenever that is going to happen. So
thank you so much, Dwayne.
Thanks so much, Dwayne. Again, thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.